When I was in high school, I knew a girl named Rebecca. She was very quiet and didn't even have very many friends other than a few boys. And she wore boyish clothing and kind of acted like them, honestly. But other than that, I didn't really know Rebecca. Well, a few years after high school, me and a couple friends were at the grocery store and we ran into her. We exchanged a few awkward words before she walked away. And after she left, one of my friends informed us that Rebecca was actually now living as a man named Brian. Well, I was a little confused by this. I didn't understand why a girl would want to be a boy. The truth is, transgender is a word that most people don't really understand. Transgender means a person's gender identity, how they see themselves, does not match their assigned sex. So, for example, if a person is biologically a male, but he feels that he is more female or acts more like a woman. Transgender is an umbrella term. This means it's a large category, and there are many subcategories within that. A couple of the subcategories of transgender are drag queens and kings. These are people that dress up for the purpose of formal wear or entertainment, and they dress up as the other sex. So a drag queen is a man who dresses up as a woman, and a drag king is a woman who dresses up as a man. There are transsexuals. Many people confuse this with the term transgender, but they are indeed different. A transsexual is a person who feels the need to get a sex reassignment surgery to change their biological sex to match their what they feel their gender identity is. Even if a person never undergoes surgery in their lifetime, if they desire to have a surgery, they are still considered a transsexual. There are also people who are androgynous, and this means they don't fit into society's regular categories, such as male or female. Some people consider themselves beyond gender, between genders, moving across genders, or some even genderless. Basically, these people have a mixture of male and female characteristics, or neither, or something entirely different. Most people believe that a person's sexuality is set when they are transgender. A lot of people think that a trans man, a female to male transgender, is always going to be attracted to females, but that's actually not the case. A study by Walter Bochting showed that out of trans women, male to female transgenders, 27% are attracted to men, 35% are attracted to women, and 38% attracted to both men and women. And out of trans men, female to male transgenders, 10% are attracted to men, 55% attracted to women, and 35% are attracted to both men and women. And this shows that gender identity and sexual orientation are not related. It's hard to tell how many people are transgender. There is a study done by the National Center for Transgender Equality. They estimate that less than 1% of people are transsexual. However, we don't really know about transgenders for a few reasons. Many people are not public. If they are transgender, they don't really tell people and aren't out about it. A lot of people fit into these subcategories of transgender, and it's hard to count every single person with all these other categories. And also, depending on what culture you live in, you may or may not be considered transgender. Most people don't know that other cultures view gender very differently than we do in America. While our culture has two categories, male and female, other cultures see much more than that. Some even see 6 different genders. And besides that, other cultures view masculinity and femininity very different. So a person who's transgender in the US may have not been transgender if they grew up in a different culture. There are many different theories about why people end up transgender. Some theories are imbalances in hormones during pregnancy, or some medications taken during pregnancy. Also, some theorists think that there's a link between brain structure and transgender identity. Transgender people themselves often feel that their gender identity is an innate part of them and that they remember being transgender from their earliest memories. Some people even argue that anyone should be able to choose what gender they feel matches them best, but that's not to say that every single person feels that their gender identity is a choice. There are many misconceptions of people who think that transgender is a mental illness, but that's not the case. There is something called gender identity disorder, and that's if a person wants to get a sex change and go through surgery to reassign their sex. A transsexual person must admit to having gender identity disorder in order to legally have the surgery. But however, it's not a mental illness that can be treated with, that can be cured with treatment. There are counselors for transgender people, but they don't change a person's gender identity. They just help them come to terms with it. The truth is that there is no standard for every transgender person. Gender identity is very complex, and there are a variety of factors that determine how a person is. It's important to be very open-minded when it comes to things like this. There are black and white categories like male and female in our society, but not every person fits perfectly into those categories. There is much more variety in our world than that, and transgender people are part of the diversity that makes up the human community.